And I'll also put up the article here. It was from last year, A Smarter Planet from IBM. It's got a good little runoff here as this guy sells it to the whole panel there and all the other corporations that must attend. If you're anybody at all in the corporate world, you must attend IBM. That's a leader. It's been authorized as a leader for all of this networking and the smart grid and across the world, all that kind of stuff. But it says Samuel J. Palmisano. It was a guy who gave it, and just with a question, governors and CEOs must be laser-focused on near-term issues. As we face a severe fiscal crisis, everyone understands that we confront a historic challenge. Think about all this. They're talking about the New World Order, you see. But the key question is, what do we do? The answer depends on how you understand the present moment. This is in the U.S. If you think this is a cyclic economic slump, then you can ride out the storm, cut costs across the board, spread the pain, get through it. It's telling you it's not that at all. It's not going to come back. If you believe the crisis was not cyclical, but caused by gross imbalances in our system, then you may drive a reform agenda, more regulation, oversight, rebalancing of who pays and who benefits. Well, the public pays and the crooks benefit. But if you believe this is a turning point, not only in the state of our United States, but in the context of what's happening across the world, see, he's going global with it, then you take a different approach. That's what I believe, and it's what I would like to talk about with you today. And what he gives you is a sales pitch. The sales pitch of interdependence, the greening, the global warming, and how they must manage it all worldwide and get above and beyond this idea of nation-state status and so on. And how we must go along with China, our great pals China, in fact copy a lot of their ways. And we all know what that means, the ones who've done any studies at all. But here's IBM. The guys who would stamp people in prison camps in Nazi Germany, they're the guys who came up with numbering people and using simplified computer system of the punch cards of the day. They've always been in the business of running the world on behalf of the elite. And here they are today. As I say, whenever they have their big world meetings, every corporation must attend it. It's like law. Or they'll be left behind and left out in the cold. They've got to grab all power across the whole planet. That's one thing, you see. Because eventually, as I say, you'll be taxed on the energy consumption. They can call it carbon taxes, energy taxes. It doesn't really matter. As long as you believe it. It's like you must believe in their money system. And that dollar is a dollar. You must believe it. The guys at the top don't care. They've got real estate all over the planet, the gold mines, everything. But it's only important that you believe it's money so that you'll go to work and work. You'll exchange your labor for that piece of paper that really is worthless. But you must believe in it. And the big boys at the top don't need money. It's a means to an end for them. And they're going after, as I say, all the world's resources. That was, again, stated quite clearly in Professor Carl Quigley's book, Tragedy and Hope, and his other one, The Anglo-American Establishment. You can't read one without the other, honestly, with this particular insight, because he was the historian for the American branch of the group that was set up to take over the world's resources for this future that we're now going through, where you'll be taxed on every piece of energy you use, or even the energy that came into making that chocolate bar and the wrapper too. That's all going to be taxed onto everything that you purchase. Then you get a personal energy consumption through your smart grid, for your smart meters. What do you think the smart meters are all about? What do you really think they're all about? I mean, apart from being able to cut off any appliance in your house, and they've been, for the last 10, 15 years, they've been putting chips into refrigerators and so on, all in preparation for today. And I keep telling you, nothing happens today that wasn't planned many years ago. Do you realize, even for a world smart grid, and they're talking about the world smart grid now, and we've all in the West to pay for the whole world's smart grid under massive undersea cables and grid system to unite the whole planet, so that eventually you'll have the World Power Inc. That'll be the one who'll own all the electricity or something. Then you have one Oil Power Inc., and that'll be the oil industry, and each one will be a solitary industry. You always have the appearance of competition, as long as they want you to have the appearance of competition, because, you see, that's all you've ever really had. You've never had real competition in anything. But anyway, they're talking about this world smart grid and how they're just desperate for electricity, in parts of Africa and so on, which you'll also have to pay for, by the way, apart from the implementation of these smart grids, because that's a redistribution of wealth from the Communist Manifesto part. And they don't bring that up very often. In fact, they'd rather you didn't think that far as to who's paying it. It's also the reason that China has been given, by the way, a whole area of Afghanistan to go in and mine for copper, because it's going to take an awful lot of copper to make a grid across the whole planet. And by the way, the US troops, it said in newspapers, are there to guard and make sure that this China company is safe. So isn't that wonderful? The US troops, they're getting paid their peanuts, paid for by the taxpayer, of course, with its big peanuts, and for China to go in and take all the stuff out. Isn't that just wonderful? Aren't you? Don't you feel like hands across the sea? We're all pals now, eh? Isn't that just great? Wait till you get the bill, because you will get it. There's no doubt about it. And this article here talks about part of the, again, I've mentioned communism, fascism, all the isms. It never ends with isms even today, does it? And you also had technocracy, a little bit different. This stage that we're going in today, and they started back in the 1930s, this idea of technocracy. Energy would be the key factors. Everything else is only the precursor of energy. Energy is eventually formed from everything, including your labor, you understand. According to the United Nations Governing Council of the UN Environmental Programme, it's called UNEP, our dominant economic model may thus be termed a brown economy. The UNEP's clearly stated goal is to overturn the brown economy and replace it with a green economy. A green economy implies a decoupling of resource use and environmental impacts from economic growth. You understand what that means? These investments, both public and private, meaning the public pay for everything, and they give the private businesses all the profit. We pay for the upkeeps of their private roads and everything, and they put nothing in. They just have you pay for the maintenance, and it's all profit for them. Provide the mechanism for the reconfiguration of businesses, infrastructure, and institutions, and for the adoption of sustainable consumption and production processes. Sustainable consumption, what does that mean? Reconfiguring businesses, infrastructure, and institutions. What do these words mean? They do not mean merely reshuffling the existing order, but rather replacing it with a completely new economic system, one that has never before been seen or used in the history of the world. This paper will demonstrate that the current crisis of capitalism is being used to implement a new radical economic system that will completely supplant it. This is not some new idea created in the bowels of the United Nations. It's a revitalized implementation of technocracy that was thoroughly repudiated by the American public in 1933, in the middle of the Great Depression. The technocrats have resurfaced, and they do not intend to fail a second time. Whether or not they succeed this time will depend upon the intended servants of technocracy and the citizens of the world. Indeed, the dark horse of the New World Order is not communism, socialism, or fascism. It is technocracy. It's actually all of it working together, because you see, they all really work in the dialectic towards the same goal. You've got to have conflict to come get the solution, and then, of course, you just simply guide the outcome to the solution that you want. And it was founded technocracy by Howard Scott and M. King Hubbard in 1932 during the Great Depression. Technocracy proposed a radical new solution for the world's economic ills. In 1932, Harry A. Porter wrote in the Roosevelt and Technocracy, just as Reformation established religious freedom, just as Declaration of Independence brought about our political freedom, technocracy promises economic freedom. Well, it does actually for the guys who own it. Porter's plan included abandoning the gold standard, suspending the stock exchanges, and nationalizing railroads and public utilities. Freedom notwithstanding, Porter then called for President-elect Franklin D. Roosevelt to be sworn in as dictator rather than president, so that he would overturn the existing economic system in favor of technocracy. Drastic as these changes from the present order of things may be, they will serve their purpose, if only to pave the way for the economic revolution and technocracy. That was page 63. Anyway, David Rockefeller is in it too. He says, when David Rockefeller picked Brzezinski, the co-founder of the Trilateral Commission, in 1973, it was the same specific goal to create a new international economic order. without some knowledge of historic technocracy, exactly what does a trilateral commission ultimately have in mind with such a goal that could not possibly have been understood? Today it's necessary to rethink these issues in order to determine if this radical movement is still operating, what their goals are, and how do they plan to achieve their goals. Then it goes on to carbon currency and energy, which we're about to get smacked with awfully hard. Back with more after this.